This is the 8-9 Combo.
This is the 8-9 Combo. I'm Brett McKay, and this is Harry Jones. Hello, mate. How you going?
How's it? Mrs. Jones and I, me and Mrs. Jones, been doing yoga in a small town of 56 people in the northern coast, the misty northern Californian coast. And I think sometimes clarity of thought can help you when you're analyzing rugby. But I got to say, my mind is so clear that I don't even know what to say about rugby anymore. I feel like I'm watching the Autumn Internationals, and we need a true expert. Do you know of a true expert about the Autumn Internationals, perhaps based in London?
Just so happens I know a guy, mate. Yes.
Excellent.
We'll come to him very shortly. What are you giving tears to around the rugby world this weekend, or are you so devoid of thought now that you have nothing?
6 million Frenchmen, which is probably equal to 7 million Englishmen, pound for pound, watched the great test, Le Revanche, between South Africa and France, and that's something to give cheers about. We are all prisoners to the tyranny of cost and market and margin, and we have to make sure that people tune in, building the match properly, igniting fervor, nationalistic as it might have been, really good stuff. And then the show, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to watch that? So well done, you frogs, in defeat. I think maybe you do your best in defeat. So keep doing that, retreating and making us happy.
In their defense, they hadn't lost the game when they put the pre-game show on.
Maybe they did. I don't know.
Yeah. No, incredible viewing numbers out of France. And that's been an upward trend for a couple of years now. So it's amazing what having a good team will do for broadcast. I've got a very simple one, a very simple cheers to Carter Gordon, mate, the latest Wallaby fly half, who, despite spending the last 18 months or so in rugby league, still very much looked like a rugby player on the weekend. 10's been a major issue for the Wallabies this year, and well, every year for the last 20. And even if he's not the answer, Carter Gordon, it's great to have another genuine option. And
can I deviate
really
from procedure and ask you a question about your cheers? What is it that you guys want in a 10? It's unbelievable, this carousel. Like, is it a tough guy? Yeah. Is it a distributor? Is it a choreographer? Is it a conductor? Yeah. Is it a field general? What is it?
Yeah, it's D, all of the above. Yeah, which is a cop out answer, but the way that he's a bigger guy, so he's got more physicality, so he's more willing to go to the line, but he got a great pass. He's always had a great pass on him. So
now one to the left, the one up the left hand that was about 35 meters. Yeah,
absolutely. On the run. Yeah, was really good. Was really good. Looking forward to another great rugby chat coming up very shortly. But first, mate, please do tell the nice people why we'd love to add them to more than 10,500 subscribers to the 8-9 Combo now.
Well, I'm sitting in a house near the beach. I could probably hit a baby chipping wedge, a lob wedge, and hit the ocean. And it's got a price on it. I would like to buy it. So if you guys want to come visit me anytime you want and prove that you're a pod subscriber as of tomorrow, then you can sit on the porch.
I think I can hear the 8-9 accountants rushing to veto this deal.
On the porch, not allowed inside. There's a fire pit though. It'll be warm.
Fair. If you are on YouTube, then you know where it is. The red subscribe button down the bottom corner. Just hit that, turn your notifications on. And if you're on the pod platforms, do the same. Like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is, and claim your place on Not Harry's Porch. The November internationals are half done already. There's genuine concern among the rugby world that no one dare say out loud, England might be good again. They've got the All Blacks at Twickers this weekend, and to go through that and plenty of other big games this weekend and last, it's great to welcome back onto the 8-9 combo from the Telegraph in London, Charlie Morgan. Welcome back. Hello, mate.
Hello.
Ollie.
Thanks very much for having me. Dreaming of a time when my thought and my mind is so clear that I can't think of rugby. Like how blissful would that be?
It's very esoteric, Charlie. I will say, Charlie, I always read your articles. I stole them. I'm not going to read them out loud, guys. Don't worry. But just to jump right in, you're sitting on the brink of the big match. England is on a run, but there's a bit of that run where you go, but is it real? And whether it's Guy Pepper facing his Judgment Day, whether it's Ford or Finn or whoever it is, it just feels like this one will give us a much better read. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, you the worst games you cover as a rugby journalist, I think, as a rugby viewer, are when you leave it and you go, well, I think exactly the same about the two teams that I've just seen as I thought for the last month, and that didn't move the dial on my opinion and what I think about either of these sides or the players. And Saturday is certainly going to be that. 9 wins in a row that England have had is not to be sniffed at, when this time 12 months ago they'd just been turned over by New Zealand and then Australia, and Australia was meant to be the sort of banker because they had Springboks up next and they didn't win that either. So that was a run of 5 losses, maybe 6. And Steve Borthwick was always wary that coming after the 2023 World Cup, when he's really pared things down and got through to the semi-final and then getting third place on a really kind of pared back template, he was always wary that the period after that was going to be really tricky. He weathered that. Now he's got some momentum. He has a strong hand, but this feels like a game that we'll be able to draw constructive conclusions from, which is really exciting, But one of the conclusions I think we might be thinking about at the end is that New Zealand is still pretty decent.
Yeah, it's a funny throwback, isn't it? Because this time last year, it felt like the conversation around the Lions was that it was going to be the entire Leinster squad plus maybe Alex Mitchell, maybe Itoje, maybe Tommy Freeman, and a Finn Russell, and maybe one more Scott, and a token Welshman.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been a good Six Nations. The Lions was what it was. And in the end, it was about 50-50 split, wasn't it, with England and Ireland through the Lions series. And not neat 50-50. I mean, they had pretty even share. And you're right. It's just been a gradual build of momentum from England. It's been really interesting to watch.
Yeah, and the start of, or in the middle actually of this winning run that they've had, they went to Argentina, and this they always tend to go to. I say always, they've definitely done it in 2017 and then done it this year. Go to Argentina when the Lions is on, and therefore have the blood players in a hostile environment against some very good players, albeit against a team in Argentina that are not shy of collective brain fades, and they've actually won the last 2 series during the Lions 2-0, and they did that this time with a squad of players that sort of guided by experienced guys. So that's why George Ford is starting at the weekend and is ahead of this group of 310s, ahead of the 2 Smiths, Finn and Marcus, because of what he did in Argentina, because of how assured he was, basically like a player coach on that tour. And those games, and he has them every now and then, including against Argentina again in the World Cup, where he just looks so serene. And he's seeing it really big, and that's what he did for large parts of those 2 tests, and that's what they hope that he'll do. But interesting, Harry, that you mentioned Guy Pepper. He's the guy that he was on the bench in the 2 tests against Argentina, came on, did well, started against the USA in a really weird game, but then after that tour, he was the guy that people were going, geez, he was impressive in training. Geez, he carries it.
Right.
Geez, by the way, this guy's getting 80 caps, just so you know. And for him to start at 6, when he can do both, can do 6 and 7, doesn't look like a massively natural line-out jumper, but they're making him do that so they can configure the back row the way they want to. his third consecutive start of the autumn is now this game where we're going to figure out what England are about, and we're going to figure out what he's about and what loads of players are about. As you said, Harry, like Fraser Dingwall at 12. I've seen he's been getting some sort of heat for not being as physical as Joshua Tuisova, which is pretty tough.
Who is
Kind of a high bar, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, but it's probably fair to say that he's one of the few players that the jury is out on. And collectively, I think the jury is out on. I thought that because one of the sort of boring narratives of last year was England getting close to New Zealand and fading in the last quarter. They didn't score a single point in 3 last quarters, an hour of rugby against New Zealand in those games, which is wild. Like and they've taken steps to sort of address that with how they've configured the match day 23.
So is that part of the sort of Genge, Luke Cowan-Dickey, and Will Stewart front row that they hold in reserve, which is a hell of a front row?
It looks like that. I think specifically the All Blacks. I'm going to terrorize some pronunciations here, but Tamati Williams, Tokiaho, and Tossi, those 3, just a weapon collectively, and they. I have to say, I can't remember how many of them were playing, but certainly a few of them were playing in that Twickenham game when it came down to a scrum that England had 5 meters out, and before that drop goal, I think it was, they just got obliterated. They won the ball, but were obliterated. And
Tamati Williams and Samisoni Takiaho would have been playing there, I reckon. Tossi's a relatively new addition, but yeah,
he was a couple of caps in, and it was all I know about this guy is that he's huge and he shifts by all accounts. And by the way, he's pretty strong in set piece as well.
Yeah,
and that was I think England keeping that front row in reserve is a nod to that, to combat that. And Tom Curry has just been a specialist replacement, interestingly, this autumn, and he has exuded a presence, a sort of menace when he's come on. Certainly in that Australia game, it was like a closer, wasn't he? And that does seem they keep calling, which is quite painful. They keep calling the fourth quarter Q4, which is. but that, I guess, at least shows that they're emphasizing the importance of it. I will say that.
Well, this might not be happy news for Twickenham, man. But it seems like to me one of the avenues to defeating New Zealand is the high ball. They have not fixed it. It's been a problem now for season and off. So is there a world in which Ford peppers them, the kick chase through Freddie Stewart, Tom Roebuck, those guys, and then straps, man, Faye Waboso, that kind of pick it up and go? That might be what they have to do for a while, even if someone has to boo a little bit through their, through their 300-pound ticket. It's not all about fun and games against New Zealand. There is a way to put them under scoreboard pressure, get them in there late, get to Q4 with more than a sniff, and then close the game. Then Marcus Smith can do something crazy.
Now that Geordie Barrett's gone home, there definitely should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Twickenham boo cheer is a thing. When they go to the air, everybody hates it, and then they win the ball back and score a try because shock they've drawn that area of the. And this is really.
I am going to rant about this in the Jaguar on the way home.
And this is seriously rich coming from me, guys. But Tom Roebuck is only 6'2", i.e., he is shorter than Tommy Freeman and shorter than Freddie Stewart. Wow. But he is phenomenal in the air, like really quite remarkable in the air. More so, I think, his spring, but also his timing and his technique, the way he moves his body, his sort of flexibility in the air. He was the guy that sort of, it's quite symbolic, him sort of out jumping Joseph Suaalii, given how Suaalii had terrorized England in the previous year. So he's going to be a big part of it. The scraps, to use some trendy coaching jargon, they're very good at that. They're very good at, looks like it's lucky the amount of times they get those balls back, but they say they practice it a lot, and they are all about mobility in that back row. Their chips are in on that. So yeah, they're going to go to the air. Look, they really are. And the thing about George Ford is that he doesn't get bored, and he will hammer a tactical plan if he feels that it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And what's fun about that too is, I talked to a coach recently about the no escort, no guard, and having metronomic box kicks that land in an actual landing area. Is your good Roebucks, your Kanan Moody's, they can time their steps. Like, it's almost like a high jumper in the Olympics, and you see them do this thing before they get to the bar with their eyes. The good kick chasers really need that reliability. And I think George Ford's got to be one of the best in the world. Putting the ball exactly on the green, his little pitching wedge.
For sure, yeah. I'm not sure. It's probably a different conversation. I'm not sure. The no escort thing, I've kind of come full circle on it, and kind of now think it's wild that players can. So Harry, Brett, it'd be really interesting to hear your take on this. But Harry Potter got after Freddie Stewart in the air, and I reckon, and maybe it is about timing, but I think if he's half a second later on any of them, that feels like a red card waiting to happen. Like it's the margins there are so small, and you're asking guys to. So again, this is another pronunciation I butcher all the time, but Ravutamada, the Fiji winger who got that's right in front of the press box where he sort of and it was a full sprint, and he didn't get up in time, and Feo Boso was so lucky to escape that collision with his sort of without something awful happening. I wonder whether that's gone too far. But then again, I don't know whether you can't put the genie back in the bottle with.
No, you can't. You can't now.
Is obstruction's obstruction. But that means it's going to remain a huge contest area, and England aren't going to mess about. They're going to go after that.
No, I wrote about that after the England Australia game, and made a point of saying that the Wallabies need to. The kicks are in the right spot, so their timing's got to be better in terms of the chase. And I actually said they've got to make a better effort in getting through the traffic, and they've got to make a better way of legally stopping the traffic as well. So that you can't stand there and shepherd anymore, like was the case 2 years ago. So they've got to be better at checking the run of the chasers coming through, but their timing has got to be better themselves, and particularly because of those Harry Potter jumps. And I think it's even England in that game. I even noticed was that if it wasn't Stewart, if it was Roebuck, and they seemed to know where Freeman was, where Foa-Bosa was, and if they weren't going to get a catch, they knew which direction they needed to tap back.
I think I know exactly the one you're talking about, because it was one Freddie Stewart hadn't caught the first three or something like that, and then there was another kick on him, and in his own 22 he jumped up and could make. You're talking about. I have no idea what it's like to be up that high, but it looked like he could potentially have caught it, but instead of doing that, on his own 22, he batted it back, and actually England had retreated so much that they could counter from that.
Yeah,
that just said, because if you're batting it back 2 years ago in that situation, coaches are going, "What the hell?
What are you doing?" Yes, exactly.
That is such a low percentage play, but it's made a high percentage play because England are collectively getting behind the ball, and that's the detail with which they're thinking of kick strategy in this instance, and it does feel like they're, if not ahead of the game, then certainly on the curve of the sharpest teams collectively in this area, which is a big compliment to how they're thinking about things. They'll want to expand, and they'll want other strings to their bow, and they'll have to have other strings to their bow. But in that area, they're very good. And against New Zealand, given their struggles, Harry, as you said, that's what they'll look at.
You were just telling us.
I hadn't thought about the hilarity if they reverse bring the Shepherds back of how funny that would be to hear like Angus Gardner saying Shepherd instead of access.
yeah. Close the gate. Yeah.
Referees, come back.
It was his refereeing of that first game, or one of the first games since it came in, which was England New Zealand again.
Yes,
which made, because he was and what's wild is that when a directive comes in, as we all know, it gets refereed 3 times, and then it's like, well, actually, do you know what? Box tick. Let's go back to how it was. It was in that game so diligently refereed and adhered to by the players, which was the more remarkable thing, that it's probably stayed. You know, if a Gardner in that game had been a bit more chilled, then maybe we'd have more of a balance. But
let's call it the Gardner rule. I remember the game so clearly. I think everyone who watched it realized, why is the referee shouting access? Like, when has that even been a word in rugby? Access.
It was very clearly a discussion that was had that week. There was very definitely a conversation about what are we going to do, what's the direction we're going to give. Angus has said, I'm just going to yell out access. Pre-game, he brought the captains together and he said, we're really going to clamp down on this. I'm going to be talking about access the whole way through. He says access for 80 minutes. Then Ben O'Keefe heard him say it and he went, that's actually a really good idea. He did it. That's the next game he had. A couple of the Northern guys, I think, the Luke Pearces, the Matthew Carleys of the world have picked up on it. They've all done it. The Gardner rule has circled the empire.
Now I want them to reverse it. They must reverse it, because I want to hear Angus Gardner say access denied, no access.
Yes.
True, very true.
So
you were telling us before we got going,
Yeah.
Harry. You're telling us before we got going, Charlie, that you'd spent a good chunk of time watching New Zealand this week, and I'm intrigued to hear about this, because as much as you think you don't get to see England much, we rarely get to see New Zealand for any length of time.
Yeah, so it was just this kind of standard vision access, which is normally sort of the term that you get that means that photographers are allowed to watch training for a little bit, and because there were press huddles afterwards, so the written guys got to come in too before we spoke to Josh Lord and then Jason Ryan. But it was just that and it was only extras, but it just looks like we were able to watch some meaningful kind of content, I guess, happen. So there were 6 back rowers. So Lakai Surveyor, Satiti, and Leah Willie, Duplessis Karifi, and Parker, and they were all sort of with Scott Robertson, who took them in sort of stand-up offload drills, and then these falling offload drills, which like struck me as something, again, like, and this is me really showing my age, that I think when you maybe saw that happen, I think you would previously be like, oh, that's quite, I wonder how often do you actually practice that? Is that something that some guys can do and some guys don't? But no, it's you get better at doing it, and you can do it to crack open defenses in really tight test matches when you practice it loads, and when you train your peripheral vision so that you can see a support line and you can flick the ball when you're millimeters off the floor. It looks like a real gamble when someone pulls it out, but it's something that, if it's something that you're training, it's worthwhile. So that was really cool. Just the little messages that you were hearing about technique and palm placement and little nuances like that. And Jason Ryan had, so there are 2 front rowers, the replacements whose names I can't say, against
Tabati Williams and Sami Takiaho.
Yeah, in 3-on-3 with an analyst filming. I think it was Jamie Hamilton, the ex Leicester scrum half, who's now the All Blacks head analyst. But on a stand next to them, it was sort of being each scrum was being replayed really quickly. And this is fairly standard practice, but being able to see it. And I asked Jason Ryan sort of, what are the nuances you're looking at, spine, foot placement, all of this, angle. And he said, but it's gold medal learning, which is key, and we call it gold medal learning because while we're out on the grass before the next scrum, we can fix something. We call it silver medal when we're doing it later in training. After training, we call it bronze medal when we're doing it before the next day. and then you're not on the podium if you're fixing something later than that because it's not fresh in the mind. And I thought, oh geez, well that's quite cool, and that's like the level. We're not. I don't think people are seeing that often, and it is one of those things that kind of hits home. It's a real privilege to see that. And the cool thing also is that you can imagine doing some of the drills, if not clearly to the same standard, and if not clearly with some of the technical bells and whistles. You can imagine doing those drills sort of all the way up and at whatever level, and some of the things like, Ethan de Groot trying to hone his, honestly, standing on the corner of the touchline and the try line and hitting a grubber kick with it outside of his foot, so try and curl it back round under the post. Which prop hasn't tried a drop goal, hit one off the tee? That is just, it's class that happens. That happens with the All Blacks as well. So it was just a real wholesome sort of experience, getting to watch it close up. And to just go back to George Ford a second, he's so good at articulating what goes into a test match from everybody, from non-23 players, from analysts, coaches, the players themselves, and to get a little window into that is really cool.
It feels like in another country, any other country, the installation of George Ford, 32-year-old, never a Lion, over the pick for the Lions, Finn Smith, and the stalwarts of the Lions, Marcus Smith, would be a bigger deal. It would just be in the French. If Intermac was sort of supplanted by Jalibert, it's a big thing. Why is it sort of not as big a deal in England?
Well, I think it's a big deal to some people. These three are, it's kind of a defining tussle, I think is wrong, but sort of a defining sort of moment for how Borthwick's reign goes, which one of these guys, and whether he even, because we hear horses for courses all the time, but there's also a school of thought that he needs to back somebody through to the World Cup. And Finn Smith, and it can get, there's potential for it to be messy. With Finn Smith was the incumbent at the end of the Six Nations. He was almost punished for going on the Lions tour because he went on the Lions tour and got a shot to be in the Test reckoning. And I think he said he's self-aware enough to know that he didn't quite make himself indispensable. And the weird thing was that Marcus Smith, who wasn't really seen as a 10, was seen more as a 15, was that last spot on the bench because of his versatility. That very same thing has happened ahead of this weekend because England's assets. It's basically Finn Smith is not just sort of competing against George Ford, not just competing against the more versatile Marcus Smith, but also competing against the back rower because England won
6-2.
They won 6-2 so bad.
Yeah.
Right. This isn't. And I think maybe there's not so much of a big deal about it because there's an awareness now, that George Ford is, as I say, seeing it really big at this stage of his career, and B, I do think that, and this might sound really pompous, so please bear with me and patronising, but I think there's a sort of growing maturity among how we view the England team that this sort of thing can happen, and it's not like Finn Smith axed. It's they want to do a 6-2. They want to do. George Ford is playing well. In a couple of Test matches, they might have a 5-3, and Finn Smith might start. There are other things. So not one sort of other sort of reason that George Ford might be there is Freeman isn't there. And Freeman and Finn Smith have this telepathic understanding from Saints, so maybe it's that George Ford is more preferable there. There are loads of different things, but I think there is a growing maturity generally, and it's something that has come to South Africa's. South African fans I think are more attuned to that now, and I think England fans are accepting that. The winning run helps for sure.
Yeah,
it's a great point because in Bachland we got rid of this whole demoted, benched, which still it reigns supreme in Australia, for example. Someone got demoted, they got pushed to the side, and the idea of horses for courses, people say, but what is the course? What is the difference of playing against Ireland versus All Blacks? I think England sees All Blacks as having a lack of depth in the pack. that if Artie Savea is carded, for example, or injured, it's a huge step down.
Mm.
So you guys can flood Charlotte Cunningham, Pepper. You've got a Curry. You've got like a real core.
Mm.
Is that where you see maybe an
unreal.
edge, a little bit of an edge? Yeah.
Do you know
The depth of the pack.
Yeah, I think the front row depth, I would say that they've looked at New Zealand's and gone, well, we need to change what we would perhaps do in 8 games out of 10 for this game, and have a stronger front row, more experienced front row, the Lions front row finishing. I think they've moved things around with Pepper rather than Curry starting so they can finish strong. I think it's one sort of extra injury. So I can't remember who came out of the All Black side. So it was, did Parker start against Ireland, and TT came off the bench?
Oh, okay.
So TT came in.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Scotland game. And I think that's part of the reason why New Zealand had to start fast against Scotland, because Scotland ordered their 23. They had Darge and Bayliss coming off a 6-2, and that's what Scotland tried to do. And very, very nearly, without going 0, pulled it off.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely that seems to be the common sort of go after them in the air, hang in the fight. Make sure your forwards have enough energy in Q4 to overwhelm them. I think that's a template that Scotland thought they could carry off and very nearly did, and I think it's what England's trying to do as well.
I love that you're internally hating yourself every time you say Q4. But every time you say Q4, you are solidifying this.
It's
you're doing it yourself.
Ellis Genge said it after the game against Fiji, and it was hey, yeah.
It feels like it feels like Borthwick's gone. 5 number 7s can be our point of difference. So what do we need to do to feed them? Equally, I've got this tremendous aerial back 3 and scrap cleaner uppers. What do I need to do to feed them? And he's taken those two in a Venn diagram, and it's George Ford that meets them both in the middle. That's really what it looks like.
Completely. And my chips are in, I think, as far as Finn Smith's future. I think he's going to be excellent. I think he is. I joked about people falling off Joshua Tuisova's carries. He did not do that. He's a tough guy.
He is such a tough defender, Finn Smith. I love that. Yeah.
And I think it must have been close, and I think maybe a couple of sort of clunky moments sort of for the collective in attack might have just dissuaded Borthwick from starting him. He will come again for sure, but I think that the thing that George Ford has, as Harry touched on, is the consistency of that tactical kicking, the intuition of him in those tactical battles. He gives great interviews, George Ford. And I remember when he was on the outer for some reason under Eddie Jones, some reason Eddie Jones had made up. And he said, look, it just feels, and this was just like leaving like a bus to drive through between the lines, was like, it just feels like sometimes for people, like just doing your job well, unbelievably well as a team isn't good enough for some people, and they need big moments. And I was just like, that's okay. That's how you see the game. That's in a quite sarky comment. That's how you see the game, which is cool.
He strikes me as your PGA Tour pro who knows he can pull out 7-iron and hit it 162 yards on the dot.
So
he's just to the number.
It's a good comparison. George Ford, he looks a bit posh, but he's more of a scrappy northerner, isn't he? Kind of a
he's not posh. He's Oldham way league. League. Dad played a lot of league. No, he's tough. Like he's. I think it was today, George Ford. So Steve Borthwick said he would back George Ford to be a future England head coach, which is
right.
like just kind of one of those things that's going to happen. You know, like Ronan O'Gara is going to coach Ireland one day. George Ford's going to.
It will happen.
Yeah.
Is that a preface to George Ford being named Steve Borthwick's assistant in 4 years' time?
Wow. So he's signed a. I'm gonna mess this up, I think, but he signed a contract with Sale Sharks until 2000. It's beyond the next World Cup, I think.
Yeah.
And somebody on the call, I remember when he announced it, said, "Oh, so is that like, will it be coaching after that?" And he was like, "Well, not necessarily." And he's been, if everybody in the Northern Hemisphere, I think, and maybe everybody around the world, I'm not sure, has looked at Johnny Sexton as this example of how that sort of player can go on and on if they are super diligent with their body. Jimmy Gopperth has just retired, hasn't he? At 41.
Yeah, finally. And start drawing on his super next week.
Yeah. But George Ford has got that in him for sure. Super fit, super diligent. So he's doing a lot of Pilates. I am really interested to see where the rest of his career goes, because in some way, as it happened to Johnny Sexton, some of your game in that position gets better and better and better. How you're seeing things unfold. Others might, suffer other areas. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But he's got a lot of hunger about him, and the hunger manifests itself, I think, also in what he's willing to do when he's not in the squad. By all accounts, he was a diamond, like just phenomenal outside the 23 during the Six Nations. There's a great clip, I might have spoken about this before, of him before the Wales game. And they clearly only put this out because the result happened that he was talking about. But he was sort of getting everybody around, and in his accent, which isn't posh, said, "Look, there is no reason we can't absolutely thrash this lot." And sure enough, that happened. Which I just love seeing. And you clearly only ever see it through sort of. It'd be great if you saw those when they didn't do that. Like, it would be great. It would be great if brutal if the players released videos of them not getting selected by the Lions. Like, let's see some of those. But no, it's good to see.
Is there a world, mindful of the Owen Farrell experiment for a long time, is there a world in which Finn Smith plays at 12, mindful that he's a good defender, and bring that access of playmakers? Can you see that happening? Is there a course for that horse?
Yeah, by all accounts, I think he was covering. I think he was. The course for that horse would be. I don't know what the course for the horse would be, but I wonder whether it's sort of been saddled in training. Been in against Australia, I think that was one of the contingencies. But the thing is, they are so confident in Ben Earl covering 12.
Yes, this has really become a thing, hasn't it?
Yeah, and fair play. Like, it was one of like a zany Eddie Jones. One of the funniest, one of the sort of really good press conference moment was Eddie Jones kind of theorizing about how Ben Earl could be a blindside wing and you wouldn't know the difference, and yada yada yada, and what we've trained in there. And then Ben Earl was next in, and somebody was like, "Oh, how's training on the wing going?" And he was like, "Me? Oh, geez, yeah." It's like, not a thing. Why? Somebody
what
said,
are you talking about?
Eddie. He was just, "Oh God, yeah, I haven't done it a lot." So it might have been sort of the odd couple of phases.
That's how we ended up with other greatest hits, such as Josh Kemeny could start a test on the wing and Dylan Peach could start a test at blindside. It was like, you are off your tree.
He also said Jordan Bataille had a really large arse, which was kind of gratuitous on this pod.
He said that on this pod, didn't he? Yes.
So, guys,
really
let's look at this weekend. It looks like All Blacks England is the game. But could there be another one? Could there be a bolt here? Wallabies, Ireland, Scotland, Argentina. These are tasty as well.
God, I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, so Wallabies have played against Ireland well, no matter what their preceding results have been in recent years.
Yes.
Ireland has only scored. They haven't been scoring that much. I feel like there's something that could happen there that is shaky. I wouldn't put a lot of money on it. but it does
No.
feel like that's something I have extreme interest in the Wallabies at Ireland. I'll just say.
Can I just read my Rugby Pass column has dropped Wednesday morning Australian time, and I feel very, very weird quoting my own writing, but I wrote this about Ireland this weekend, and I just said Ireland lost control of the game against the All Blacks in Chicago in an awful hurry, and then took the first half to work out how to get the upper hand against Japan last weekend. Labeling them vulnerable feels somewhat accurate, even if still with a touch of hope. But simply put, the Wallabies have to find a way.
Yeah, I got to say that's tasty. And if as a pure neutral, I wouldn't mind Scotland Pumas just for the hell of it. So I mean, that's going to
be a cracking game. That's going to be a belting game. After what Argentina did to Wales on Sunday, after what Scotland did to New Zealand on Saturday, that's tasty. And the World Cup rankings, the points implications out of both of it, Scotland can do Australia a massive favour in this game, regardless of the result in Dublin.
Not to piss on bonfires, Ari, the rankings. How important are they? They're less important with this format, aren't they? But they.
Yeah. Yes. So it still feels like top six is the thing, but I'll give credit to Ian Payton from the Sydney Morning Herald here on a panel show about a week and a half ago, actually explained why the Wallabies finishing the year ranked 7th and being a second seed actually mightn't be as bad as we think. And he explained it because the host nation is always in Pool A. So he said, right at this point in time, Australia is the only team that knows which pool they'll be in. Now, other teams will have a fair idea which pool they'll end up in, but Australia is the only one who definitely knows they are in Pool A. And so already we know the knockout finals formatting and all that, so that we know that the winner of Pool A will play a runner-up of one of the other. The winner of Pool A will play one of the best third places, but the runner-up of Pool A will play another runner-up from another pool, whereas all the other runners-up are playing winners. Oh. So Pato's point was that if Australia actually end up in Pool A behind, say, South Africa, it's maybe actually not such a bad thing, because if they even finish second in Pool A, they're playing another runner-up, which
but that's
means
specific to Pool A, and that's
it's specific to Pool A,
not 8th.
Yes.
8th would be a problem.
8th is a problem, definitely. Yeah. Yes. So what he was actually saying is that being 7th and finishing up in and finishing second in Pool A maybe actually isn't as bad as we thought. And so ever since he explained it, and explained it so well, all the headlines about World Cup disaster and rankings disaster and all that, I was thinking, maybe it's not. I don't know that it is.
Well, I've given you a window into my laziness there by going, maybe it doesn't matter because I've thought about it, not understood it, and just it doesn't matter. It's like, there you go.
Look, I'd not heard it. I'd not heard and seen it framed and explained the way Pato did the other week, and it was really, really good. Really, really good.
So here's a question, Brett, I have for you. So there's a round of 16 now in the World Cup.
Yes.
Does it reseed or is it a fixed bracket?
No, and I think this was his point. It was a fixed bracket. So so runner-up in Pool A playing another runner-up meant that the avenue into the quarterfinals was still pretty good.
So here's the other question, guys, is who are the contestants now for that 6, 7, 8? Is it Argentina, Australia, and who? Scotland?
Yeah, Scotland. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, Puma Scotland, hell of a game.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like that's England, New Zealand, Ireland, Australia, Scotland, Argentina are absolutely the 3 big ticket items this weekend.
Because Charlie, Scotland's had brutal draws into the World Cup. I mean, time after time, they always seem to get the raw end. So if they could get to 6, and I thought they looked amazing against the All Blacks. I thought they looked like trouble. It took one of the best tries scored in the history of rugby to beat them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
As I said earlier, I thought their strategy going into it was smart. I thought how they were targeting the back end of it, what they were going to do, what their pack was going to look like at the end of the game, was smart. Jamie Doby, their nines they've got two amazing players for a 6-2 bench in Doby and Tom Jordan. Between them, they cover. So Doby covers 9 and wing, and Jordan covers 10, 12,
10,
and 15.
10, 12, 13. Yeah.
So it's absolutely perfect. And yeah, I was at Double Up last weekend. So I did Twickenham and then Cardiff, and was like, I found some of the afternoon genuinely stirring, actually, because Wales looked competent for good periods. And that you saw
naming of faint praise.
You saw a connection growing between them and the fan base that have grown apathetic, if not angry, with what's going. Angry, if not apathetic. Apathetic would be worse, with what's going on. So you saw seeds, and the real indictment, to be honest, is that they did look good and still shipped 50, but they shipped 50 because the chance that clearly Wales had in the game was Argentina brain fading, as they can do, but they are growing less susceptible to that. So they've shipped. I was checking it, or sort of remembering earlier that not too long ago, since Scotland put 50 on Argentina in one of these internationals. I don't think that's going to happen this time, but I think it's going to be a really good game. It's a really interesting game for Scotland emotionally, because that has potential to be really damaging. How close they got to what is a ludicrous record, having never beaten New Zealand, and then to back it up is tricky. They will. Yeah. It would be handy for them if it's bad old Argentina.
Yeah. Look, I think that one's got similar scoreline. That's got 25-19, 25-21 written all over it. It'll be like, I don't think there'll be 50 points scored in the game in total. It'll be 3 tries each and 1 late winner. Really tight.
In a way, that when Argentina against the Lions, pre-Lions tour, when the Lions, I thought, were playing a sort of Scottish attack, even though they weren't using Scottish coaches, it felt very much like a Scottish attack. They're kind of the perfect fighters against each other. You have the build the attack, one of the best builders of attack, Scotland, and then this counter punching, always ready to go, really quick backs. That's one I'm probably the most looking forward to beyond All Blacks England. But I will say, each country, the receiving nations, seem to have one game they would circle and say, this is really meaningful. I think that this is the weekend for both England and Scotland. I think Scotland to go down to Argentina would be devastating.
Yeah,
it would be. Yeah. Can we just? I know we've talked about handsome centre combinations before, but can we just think about Jordan and Hugh Jones against Cynthia and Chocobatos? Dreamboats everywhere.
Brett, you're gonna be swooning. What, I don't know if you get some smelling salts next to you as you watch.
I'm gonna have to make a special point of watching that one on replay later.
Well, it was wasn't it a handsome head-to-head with Ringrose versus Suoli that we had? So that works.
Oh, it was.
It works as a tag team.
Yeah.
All the handsomeness.
Yeah. And then I find out in the week leading up to it that Joseph Suoli is dating Jason Little's daughter. So, I mean, Jason Little was a handsome man as well. So
this part is degenerating. I mean, I'm in San Francisco doing yoga, but still, guys, come on.
Yeah. What'd you talk about with those Australian South African guys, Charlie? We got into handsome centers.
Hey, as I said off air, my heart's full, guys.
That's very true. Ireland, Australia, mate. How are you seeing that from over there? What are you seeing about Ireland? Where are Australia's chances?
I think Ireland, maybe the propensity to overreact to Chicago was quite heavy. I don't know. But then again, as you say, they look super sticky in the first bit of that Japan game. Japan. That reminded me a little bit of actually when England went over there last year. And the first somehow, I think, either didn't concede or conceded a try, but some of like mesmeric, rapid Japan attack in 45 degrees Celsius, and somehow they hung on and didn't concede. Japan played or moved the ball certainly well enough to score more than they did, and really kind of inject a bit of neurosis and into that afternoon for Ireland. I think it's tricky. It feels, you're right, Brett. Like I would want the Ikitau factor feels big for the Wallabies, right?
Yeah.
Just such a good player, and Paisami as physically as direct as he can be, got a jackal threat, potentially a little bit of a kicking game about him as well. Ikitau's subtlety with footwork and at the line is so good. Elevates those around him. He's been lights out for Exeter. One of those signings where it's like genuine privilege to have him in the Prem and have the chance in, week out. And I think that game, he was the big miss for the Wallabies at Twickenham. And he was the bit just giving them that little bit of an extra dimension, really. Shame Skelton's out, but because Skelton at the Avivas, Skelton against Irish teams and Irish heavy teams like the Lions, love watching it. And it's he just the penalty. Was there one penalty? The Lions either the Wallabies had already given away a penalty, or he just didn't give a shit, and he shoulder checked Tyke Furlong from the back in one of the Lions tests, maybe the third test, and you were like, that's a penalty of a guy that like wants to defend a close range maul, so he doesn't care.
Yes. There was a moment in Melbourne, I think it was, maybe it might have actually been Sydney now I think about it, and Nick White was in the middle of it, and it might have been the same moment. It was Byrne and there was someone else. Skelton comes through and he's very happily just takes them both on. You're right, Australia had won the penalty. Skelton basically belted their heads together and told them to sod off.
Yeah.
And they had to go, well, we've got to reverse this now. And he went, all right.
Let's
go.
Please do.
It was,
He got one reversed at the start of one of the Bledisloe ones as well, but that looked like, do you know when referees it's pretty boring, referees man mark a troublemaker and penalise something that's like 2/3 of a penalty. It was one of those sort of spoil sport thing to do. But he's a miss because of that fear factor. Really,
it's a real shame. Like he flew to Dublin just to fail a fitness test, basically.
Yeah,
that's a shame. I said to Harry on the weekend that I didn't expect that the difference between the Wallabies with Len Ikitau and without Len Ikitau would be as great as it is. And that's not actually on Hunter Paisami specifically, but it is everyone around him. What he does for the players around him is so good. And the interesting thing that you mentioned, he was him dropping in for Exeter. I saw the little clip of post-match for their first game, Tom Hooper and Len Ikitau's first game. And Len was so exhausted, but also so emotional about the performance that Hoops had to speak for them both. And you could actually just tell him, just watching him slightly off camera, that playing well for his new club meant so much to him that he was literally out of words. He couldn't say what he needed to say and what it meant to him in that moment. So he's just such an all-in player. Interesting that he's playing 12 for Exeter. I still think back, and I'm sure I've told you, a conversation I had with Stephen Larkham this time last year, and he planted the seed with Len about playing 12, and he went, I don't know, it's not really my style. And all that. 12 months later, he's arguably the best 12 on the planet right now.
I would argue that. However, I will say this. I think Suali is not really a 13. He's such a good athlete. He can play just about any position. But the reason why he's a serviceable, or in Charlie's words, competent 13 was Ikitau.
Because Ikitau, exactly.
And because Ikitau plays 12 differently from other 12s, that's what happens. And it made everyone function. So now you see the problem of one fallout affecting two other positions, 10 and 13. And I think there's a candidate for player of the year for the Wallabies would be Ikitau for sure.
Well, he won it. He won the John Eales medal just
There
before
you
I
go.
left. Yeah.
So
He's playing.
He has fallout potential, and I just didn't even
Yeah.
see how much cascaded from that, and how
He's-
well he made everyone play.
He said that he thinks he knows how he can play 12 because he knows how, as a 13, he wants his 12s to play. So he's playing 12 from the prism of how he would want it from outside centre.
That's funny.
The irony being that he may never play outside centre in a test match again.
One thing about him, talking about how tough Finn Smith is defensively, how tough Ikitau is in an attacking sense, and how much he mucks in and around the ruck to that really. So England did their homework on Australia really, really closely. Were absolutely ready for the sort of that tight game that Joe Schmidt sides used to eke out momentum, but it was that tight game without Ikitau making pick and goes, making one out carries, and like always making 2-3 meters, and getting
always engaging the next defender.
Or playing a tip on, or getting an offload away. He's that good. So him coming back in against Ireland certainly makes it a potentially closer game. Just what you want out of these games is tension, right? Like that, it's just fun when it goes down to the last 10. And when with that game, especially because that's one where if you're not going to learn anything new, I quite like it when there's jeopardy on it, as far as there's going to be soul searching on both sides for whoever loses.
I'm going to be honest, I could do with less tension.
I've searched my soul enough in 2000.
I've done enough. It's a really, really interesting, intriguing, absorbing weekend of games coming up. We could go on for hours talking about them, mate. We won't do that. It's late where you are. It's kind of early where I am. I reckon we put a pin in this. Thanks so much for giving us some time, mate. It's been a great chat as always.
Very cool.
You've got some really, really good rugby to watch over there this weekend.
Thank you, lads. Always a pleasure.
Cheers, Charlie.
Combo with Brett McKay and Harry Jones. And, mate, great to have Charlie Morgan on. He's by far our most regular guest in 2025, and chats like that tell you why. That was great.
Charlie's a good man. Everyone go onto his article, Daily Telegraph, pay for it or try to get it free. I don't know how you want to do it, but just read it. He breaks all this down in wonderful prose. And one thing I like about Charlie, he's a very fair-minded journalist. Of course, he has his druthers. There's people he has preferences for, but I think he just tells it like it is, which is what he should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, really, really, really good. There are 6 fantastic test matches this weekend. Italy, South Africa in Turin, England, New Zealand in London, Wales, Japan in Cardiff, Ireland, Australia in Dublin, France, Fiji in Bordeaux, Scotland, Argentina in Edinburgh. We are halfway through a mass of Autumn Nations Series games. It's the most clouded, hard to read fixture going, and we're halfway through it. But this feels
very pink.
Yeah, it is very pink. Yes, this feels like the big weekend on the calendar.
It's cool for some of the teams. It's definitely the pivotal for England and Scotland for me, and probably the All Blacks. I think the All Blacks have a pretty smooth sail. They've got to get over this hurdle, and I think there's a significant portion of New Zealand that thinks that they're the underdogs, and I cannot argue with them. I think maybe England might be a bit of a favorite here, which is weird. Very weird.
Yeah. Scotty Stevenson this week on radio in New Zealand talking about Damien McKenzie said this isn't what fans of Damien McKenzie or indeed Damien McKenzie himself will want to hear, but I don't think he plays as a starting player again. He is just a perfect number 23. And it's hard to argue that the way he finished that. The Premiership, the top 14 now are all on hold until the last weekend of November. So we're very much in test match mode. We will be back with another post-mortem post-Ireland Australia, I think is the window we're aiming for this weekend. So we'll see how that works out. Anything else you need to throw in here?
Not at all. I'm very happy to see you guys. I really think it's interesting how this world ranking things plays. Now that you've piqued my interest, I'm gonna dig in. Hopefully by next time we're on, I will be an intelligent consumer of this fact. I don't know, but now it's another set of like the 6, 7, 8 battle is interesting to me, because it sounds like to me from what you said that 8 really is a shit place to be. So
I'll try and find the clip of Pato explaining. It was on Stan Sport in Australia on one of the panel shows last week. I'll try and find that clip and see if I can post on the socials. I'll send it to you at the very least. And the way he explained it was not something that I'd seen explained that well before. So it was really good. So yeah, I will find that for you. That then is another great episode of the 8-9 Combo Rugby Podcast behind us. Our sincere thanks to Charlie Morgan for joining us. Wonderful as always. Tell us what you think by following Harry and I on the socials. You can find the 8-9 Combo on the socials as well. You can have your say right here on the 8-9 YouTube channel. You can have your say on Spotify. We'd love to hear from you. Shares, ratings, reviews, all of that as always. This is the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed in a rugby podcast. Sean Maloney is loaded in the closer. I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones, and we will be back in your ears this weekend at some point.
Come play with us, dude.
Here goes Jones with another bruising run. He links up with McKay, who pops back to Jones. They can't. They won't. They will. What a try. The Dream Team Combo go in again.